The Toronto Waterfront Marathon is in just 16 weeks, and coming off the back of an all-time great half marathon performance, I'm locked in and ready to go. Can I get that elusive Boston qualifier time? Well, only one way to find out. This is the journey to the waterfront. Hey, welcome back. Or if you're new here, my name is Eric. I'm a hobbyist runner from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and my goal is to get to the Boston Marathon. You already heard that part. But anyways, you heard right. It's the start of a 16-week training block for me, and this is the first time I will be using someone else's training plan. By the way, that was not a flex. I usually procrastinate, and by the time I look for a plan, well, it's too late, and I kind of have to take bits from here and there and cobble together my own. But yeah, this is gonna be pretty different. I'm not gonna set my own workouts. I'm not setting the weekly mileage. I don't even set the rest days. I'm gonna try to follow the plan as faithfully as I can within reason. A little secret between you and me, I'm recording this after the fact. So if you see this room right here, yeah, this is like one of those confessionals and reality TV show, even though I don't really watch reality TV. Now, what is the most important part of starting any new undertaking? It's actually starting, right? Well, yeah, I sort of didn't do that. Week 1, day 3, 30th, July 1st, 2nd. Already screwed something up. This is my marathon training plan right here. It is 16 weeks long. When I was arranging my calendar, somehow I just counted the number of weeks wrong, so I thought week 1 was July the 7th. No, it is actually June 30th. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I'm just happy I caught it on day 3 or 4 instead of day 14. So the session I had planned was 2x5K, but the session on here is just a 20-minute tempo run, so that is a pretty easy substitution. And I think I've said this somewhere, I'm not sure where, but I don't really believe in the perfect training block. Like even for that half marathon I ran in April, which I consider to have been an impossible time, yeah, there were difficulties in training, like my IT bands were acting up. It was like super snowy outside, so I couldn't get up to speed when I was trying to run a session, but it still worked out. And, I'm gonna try my hardest to get that Boston qualifier time, but I know it's a very tall order, shaving off nearly an hour of time from my first outing. Okay, I forgot to defrost meat like an idiot. I don't like using the microwave. But yeah, right now there is one challenge right at the bat, and that is I've noticed a little bit of irritation developing on the underside of my left foot. It doesn't really feel like plantar fasciitis, and which I'm, hesitant to self-diagnose. It also doesn't feel like a stress fracture because, I've dealt with that in my ankles before, and I very distinctly know what that feels like. So I'm just hoping somebody's tight or just need to take a little more rest because I was ramping up a lot of that threshold work. But yeah, I think that beef is sizzling, so I gotta get cooking.
Right, and the dish on the stove tonight is apple tofu, a dish right there from an anime called Angel Beats. Okay, yep, and that's why it's on my favorite.
Alright, with dinner out of the way, let's take a look at week 1 and 2 of the plan and see how that stacks up compared to what I was doing previously. Right off the bat, that's very different total mileage. Now let me talk to you. I'm a pretty big proponent of the 62-mile week. Yeah, 60-some miles, right? Hey, Cortana, what's 100 kilometers in miles?
The answer is 62.14 miles.
62.14 miles. And I'll be honest, I started to have some doubts. Now, I do have some doubts about the marathon training plan I'm using right now, and that's mainly to do with the intensity or lack thereof. Hey, future week 5 Eric here. This fool has no idea what he's in for, so subscribe to see that upcoming Sufferfest. The pain is coming. I think in hindsight I might have gotten a little bit overboard with my half marathon training, but at the same time, I think that's why I got the result I did, and I was really pleased with that. But this is the marathon. It's a whole different ball game. Now you're probably asking right now, wait, you're a runner, you're supposed to be healthy. Why are you eating junk food? And I don't really subscribe to that school of thought. The workouts I was doing for the half marathon though, they were taken from this person, or this team I should say, and I'm kind of inclined to trust them because, if those workouts worked for the half, then it stands to reason an actual full-on plan written by this team would get results, right? Like, hopefully that's not insane to think. You know, people have always asked me, you have music going, but do you think during your runs? And yeah, I always treat my runs as a form of active meditation. You know, just sitting quietly in a corner, acknowledging thoughts, doesn't really do it for me. But, you know, here's a simulation of what that would be like. When I tell people in my life about the runs I do, the reaction is usually shock. I'll throw a number out there like, oh yeah, it was just 22 kilometers, and then I have to take a step back and realize like, oh wait, this isn't a normal thing for most of the general population. And this isn't to brag. I've tried a lot of hobbies in my life and none of them really stuck. I was drawing for quite a bit. Also tried my hand at guitar and Wing Chun. Yeah, the one with Ip Man. And for the longest time, I just thought I wasn't a very dedicated person. And then in 2019, work moved, the commute got shorter, and I had a lot of free time on my hands. So at the age of 25, I thought, dude, if you don't get in the habit of being fit now, it's never gonna happen. So I drove down to the local sporting goods store and bought a pair of shoes. Now, I made a lot of mistakes. Got shin splints, went too fast, the whole 9 yards. But there was one thing that was abundantly clear. This isn't something I'm giving up. And nowadays, I cannot imagine my day without a run or planning for the next run if it's a rest day. And it took me 6 years to realize this, but I never lacked for dedication. It's just, I didn't love those other things as much as I thought I did. Alright, just got finished running, and thankfully it was just in the nick of time because it started raining. I don't mind a little drizzle when I run, but this is a little much. I think I found the theme for this entire training block though, and that is to build the missing middle. And that is not just a housing slogan, it's in reference to my fitness. Aerobically, I think I'm pretty good. Could probably run a 50, maybe 60K ultra if I tapered for it. Threshold wise, I think I'm also pretty solid. Ran the entire half marathon in that kind of low to middle threshold zone, but in that kind of high aerobic, just sub threshold zone, I think I'm a little bit weaker. And that's probably because I don't really spend a lot of time in that zone. It's been said if you do a bunch of aerobic work and VO2 max work and threshold work, you should be able to string it all together on the day. But you know, I do think there is value in actually running in that zone. Train how you fight, right? And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Maybe consider liking and subscribing. Also, let me know, are you training for a race too? Is it a marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K? Whatever it is, let me know down in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.